Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Durrani here from VG247, and I'm joined by Alex. Alex, say hello.
Hello.
Alex
Hello.
has seen Ratchet and Clank Rifts Apart. Alex, what is it saying?
I keep forgetting like the name of this game. Like I keep going like, is it Ratchet and Clank A Rift Apart? Is it Ratchet and Clank Rifts Apart? But no, it's Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Apart, okay.
And yeah, I saw it. Saw being the key. Just trying to point out, it was only just watching. Sony held a pretty cool event where they showed us some extra gameplay, and then there were a bunch of sessions where we could jump in and hear the developers talking about the process of making the game and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. The same sort of thing that we would usually get when we're at E3 or whatever.
Okay.
And it was all captured on PS5 and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, it's a PS5 exclusive. And here's what I'm saying. I think this might be, and people watching this, you might be getting this from the footage you're already seeing at the top here. I think this might be like the first truly next-gen game.
Ooh, that is a big statement.
It's like Demon's Souls looked nice, but it was this sort of, remake, remaster sort of thing. And Miles Morales, obviously, both platforms. Obviously, you had Astrobot, but that was just like a little... Astrobot was a little, included.
It was a dual sense. It was a dual sense showcase.
It's sort of a showcase, yeah. But this feels like the first game where it's like, here is what the PlayStation 5 can do, and god damn, it looks insane.
Yeah. They are flexing. They are really, really flexing. So what piqued your interest the most from what you saw?
I mean, so they've talked about this, a lot already, and we've seen the public has seen State of Play broadcasts where they've shown off the main crux of the game, which is obviously the Rift mechanics. So the Rifts are portals in the world. You'll see some of them in this footage, and they're actually real-time rendered. So if you're looking for a portal and there's a different world through the other side, that's real-time, which is crazy, because then it's rendering two different things at once. And in the stuff that we sort of saw as part of the presentation, they were talking about how basically they're streaming content here almost in the same sort of way that they would stream in an open-world game like Spider-Man, which of course is from the same studio. In this, even turning the camera, it unloads the textures that are behind you. They're out of sight instantly, because what they're saying is, because the hard drive and stuff is so quick, the SSD on the PS5 is so quick, and the special storage solutions, they can pull data in so fast that they can unload stuff that's out of sight, whereas usually, obviously, you keep it in memory because you need it. Because if the player turns around, you need to show it.
Yeah.
But the loading here is so quick, they're saying we can dump it out of memory and pull it back in a couple of frames, so it's not a problem. The
technology you're describing sounds crazy. You'll see it on screen, but the transition is so seamless.
It's so crazy. Good. And I think, it's this whole thing of because they are culling from memory, they're just getting out of memory anything that's off screen. That means they have more memory to spend on the scene that's in front of you, so that means they can have more stuff on screen, more effects, they can drop enemies in out of nowhere, and it doesn't have a huge memory cost or cause slowdown and stuff like that. And so in that sense, it feels like sort of the delivery of the promise of the PS5. Like, if you remember that old Mark Cerny presentation where they first sort of introduced the machine, and he stood up there and in his very calm, very relaxing voice, like an ASMR video, explained about all the fast loading they were going to do. And it was like, yeah, sure, we'll see. We want to see that in game. This is the game that finally shows it. It's like, okay, Resident Evil Village, which we just reviewed, has super fast loading times on PS5. And Spider-Man Fast Travel is pretty much instantaneous. Yeah. But in this, moment to moment, every time you go through a rift, every time you do anything, they're talking about it's going to be seconds to get into the game from the moment you launch it. But also, it gets rid of the fluff. It's like, they were saying, in Ratchet and Clank, they sometimes have spaceship rides, and they still have spaceship rides between planets and stuff. But here now, it's never covering up a load. They only do it when they want to do it to serve the story, or they want to do it to show you something visually. Otherwise, they got rid of that stuff. Here's a crazy one, and it isn't in this footage, unfortunately, but at one point, they do a Star Wars-style screen wipe, a wipe transition.
Yeah.
But that's between two real-time shots.
Okay.
So obviously they're rendering one shot, they're rendering the other underneath it, and then wiping across. It's bonkers. I don't know how it's possible.
So from a
Yeah,
technical standpoint, they are flexing hard. Like this is the PS5 hardware is being pushed to its limits here, or is that what you're saying?
well, I don't know. I mean, who knows where the limits are? It's always hard to say with console hardware the first couple of years, but it definitely feels like, yeah, they're flexing and they're showing it off. And actually, I think the really interesting thing is they were very, very keen to stress that the technology hasn't just been used to push pixels and push visual fidelity. Like, sure, this definitely looks like a Pixar film. Again,
Absolutely.
it's that delivery of that years old promise where, you know, Ken Kutaragi said about the PS2, it's going to look like Toy Story, and of course, it never did.
But
But
he said that about PS2.
yeah. He was
Okay.
the boss of PlayStation back then, and he, you know, those were the emotion engine, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
They talked a big game. They always talk a big game, and this feels like the delivery on that, where
Yeah.
it follows actually a bit from. I remember Kingdom Hearts being astonished. Obviously, that was a PS4 game, but being astonished at how much the Pixar worlds, like Toy Story, and the Disney animation worlds, like Frozen, how much they looked like the films.
Yeah.
This feels like a million miles ahead of even that.
Yeah.
But I got sidetracked there. The thing they want to stress is that the technology hasn't just been used for that. It's been used to actually, and I quote them here, to quote, change the shape and content of the game, unquote.
Okay.
And what they mean by that is they've actually used this technology to change the way they build levels and stuff. So the Rift mechanic, for instance, they've actually got some worlds that are just based around that mechanic. So,
Okay.
for instance, there's planets where you're actually experiencing two different versions of the same place in two different dimensions, but you're jumping back and forth between the two versions of them to progress.
My
And
mind is blown.
we've seen little bits of this, like in like Dishonored had a great level like that, and there's definitely been other games that have done this. There've been games where that's been their whole gimmick, but the thing is, because it's all seamless and all super fast, it just seems more natural
Yeah.
in this game.
It just works. That's what we like.
Yeah.
Things to just work.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and they seem to be building that sort of attitude into everything about the game. It's like, if you're a Ratchet and Clank fan, there's all the stuff you know and love returning. You've got this third person combat with, you know, shootery elements and puzzly elements and platformy elements, but like
I would say that, sorry to interrupt, the whole like the combat side of things, Insomniac are incredible at this, having loads of combat options. When you'll see it on screen when they're flicking through the character's weapon wheel, there's just like a million. I'm like, what's going on here? There's so many options. It sort of reminds me of Doom. Somehow, some way, it reminds me of like a baby version of Doom with the weapon wheel. You just swap in on the fly and stuff, like keeping the combat flow up.
Yeah, and everything's super fast and super, and you know, and you transition from one thing to another really easily.
Yeah.
And yeah, totally, I see that comparison. And yeah, the great thing about Ratchet and Clank is they just have fun with it. Like, the weapons are all crazy and slightly stupid, and that's fun. And they were talking about how hard it is to cut stuff where they were like, actually, this might be too silly. But there's lots of fun stuff in it. And, you know, they're building the other aspects of the PS5 into that. So it's like they've brought back the hover boots, which have been in previous games. But in this game, they're using the adaptive triggers to sort of let you perform kicks to build up speed and momentum. And through that, and through the haptic feedback in the triggers, they're saying you'll be able to get the same sort of physical resistance and feedback that you would get when you're pushing yourself along in real skates. Obviously, you feel that resistance as you pull along the floor. And so they're trying to, you know, put stuff like that into it. There's a thing called the Rift Tether, which is like, there'll be certain rifts in levels where rather than you go up to them and go through them, they're just hanging there, and you can use the tether and you can latch onto a rift and pull it towards you. And it's that thing of like, they try to use the 3D audio tech and the haptic stuff to make it feel like this portal is coming towards you and then envelop you, and the world changes around you, and the audio and stuff all sort of delivers into that to sell that feeling of you tumbling into another world. And yeah, I'm really, really, really impressed. And I think, you know,
I think that's what we like to see. I think that's what we like to see. We like to hear that you've seen something and you just like what you saw.
it's hyperbolic, I know, to say, oh, it's the first truly next gen game, and people will be in the comments like, oh, what about this? What about that? And I get it, but it's just, for me, someone who had the PS5 and the Xbox Series X before they were launched. I reviewed the Xbox. No, I reviewed the PlayStation, and this is the first time I've booted a game and gone, well, not booted a game, but seen a game and gone, holy wow! Like, I am shocked at how good this looks. I haven't had that feeling this generation yet, and this has given it to me. And also the way that it feels real. As in the way it integrates everything to enhance the gameplay as well. I'm just really impressed. And obviously, the problem with this stuff with hands off is it can all fall down when you actually play it. But
it's true.
I really hope it doesn't.
Nah. They've got previous games to back them up. They've got the blueprint already, so they're only improving upon what they already have, and it looks like they've improved a whole bunch. Just quickly, I want to say about I saw that it took some inspiration with the triggers from like Returnal and stuff. So like Returnal with like the half press, it would do like a certain ammo type or a certain shot type, and full press is something completely different. How was that? Did you see much of that?
Well, I mean, those sorts of things, and that's why I wanted to talk mostly about the visuals today. It's hard to judge. Like, I can see that stuff is there, but until I'm sitting with a controller in my hands, it's always difficult to say, right? But I think we're seeing a lot of developers on PlayStation get used to those triggers, and I think they're a great idea. I'm not entirely convinced that I've seen the things that really justify the existence and justify the drain on the battery life. But yeah, it's a cool idea, and I hope
it's there.
They've clearly considered every aspect of the PS5 for this game and built it for the PS5, and I think that's why, in many ways, it is what I said. Like, it is the first true next-gen PlayStation.
Next generation. All right. Well, is there anything else you wanna throw in there before we wrap this up?
No, just the standard caveat. It's pre-release. We didn't get to play it. We only got to see it. All these things can change. Things can look amazing and feel garbage when you play them. I'm sure that won't be the case here, but I look forward to finding out pretty soon.
June 11th.
June 11th, so it's not that far away, and hopefully we'll be able to get our hands on sooner than that.
Yeah. All right. Cool. That has been Durrani and Alex for VG247. Make sure you check out all of our stuff, the website, the YouTube, and take care, everyone.
See ya.